I mean, in case you missed it, we announce it all the time. Whenever we press the button, we say we pressing the
Dude,
button.
I have pressed the button. Yeah,
it's on now. It's on now.
on.
All right,
There's no
Austin
turning
Linney,
back.
like we've already been having a fun conversation. I'm excited to kind of get to know you. We've already been having. You guys missed the good shit. Like it's all downhill from here. Like the preamble was the good stuff because we're fucking professionals. This is how we do shit. But I was reading through some of the stuff. If you could just give our audience 30,000 foot view, Austin Linney, start at the beginning. Tell us.
Yeah, man. It's interesting. My dad was a high powered dentist in Texas, and we grew up in a traditional life, and everything. And when I got introduced in the restaurant business when I was 18 years old, I don't know how much you know about the restaurant business, but alcohol and drugs are pretty prevalent. And I got introduced to it at a young age and kind of went down a bad path for many years. Kind of hit the hard stuff, but then proceeded to be a functioning alcoholic. 20 years. So I've been sober for 2 years and 8 months, and that coincided with my kind of entrepreneurship journey, where you made a choice. I had a mentor tell me this when I was called with a decision because I was working private equity, and he said, "You will never be mad at yourself for betting on yourself." And those words always stuck with me. And, it's been a wild journey to start businesses and be a mindset coach and kind of come from where I came in order to help others find their gifts and be the best version of themselves. This world we live in, Seth Godin and Aubrey Marcus had a long discussion about the gig economy, the freelancing economy, and how you can specialize and knit down so much to your skills these days, and you can really live the life that you're seeking from a laptop and probably work 3 days a week, right? And so I'm a lifestyle investor. And so my goal, my big dream, and I just said this yesterday on a podcast, I have 2 podcasts, I run a coaching business, and I have 4 businesses currently. My goal is to run all those businesses 3 days a week. Now, those might be 16-hour days, 18-hour days, but that's the way I want to live my life. I purposely don't schedule anything on Friday because I want, and I'm cool with that. Like today, I have like 16 Zoom calls. It doesn't matter because on Friday, I have nothing, and we're going hiking, and we're hanging out all day. So there's so much optimization that you can do in your life these days, right? With investing, with business, with freelance working. And I think that's what people need to tap into more personally.
Yeah, I was just like, wait, you get days off? Now, granted, like, because you're right, and we actually, in the back of my mind, as we're standing up the Uplift, and we've got like, I don't know, 20 employees now or whatever it is, we're hiring people all the time. Getting this stuff off the ground, and in a bull market, like you can't justify. Especially not like doing the kind of startup stuff that we're doing now. I can't justify taking my foot off the gas for any more than I have to. And I still have to, right? Like there's days where, you kind of have to take the intellectual load off, or you'll just literally just like, I'll be in the corner, like rocking back and forth, crying at some point, right? Like you're going, 5, 6, 7, 8 days at 16 hours a day, using my brain at 130% capacity. It's not very big. So I have to work really hard at it, right? But doing this thing. But even on our team, I think about life design as a function of, we get to be part of this business together, right? And we get to decide how we get to show up all the time. And again, bull market, startup, tons of competition. We need to be, working at as much of a capacity as we possibly can, which is never going to be fast enough, right? Which is the whole trap. But at the same time, I want to start figuring out, I don't want to start figuring out. I've been thinking a lot about it and pre-planning. Like crypto winter's coming, and NFT winter might not come, right? Which is great, but I'm sort of looking forward to when we can do this, right? And I'd love to set it up so that everybody on our team can show up in that way, right? Like what's the combinatorial way that any person who's working in our ecosystem, in our orbit, wants to show up, say for like the 3 days at 16 hours a day or whatever, accomplish the goals they have for that week, and then fuck off for 4 days. Like that's like, that I think everything's moving towards that end. I think COVID accelerated that aggressively because now we're all working from home. There's a lot of that stuff percolating into the normie economics. Even my wife is going through it, working for the VA. She's got so much more bargaining power to just stay home and work at home because they made her do it for a year and a half. Right now, she's like, "Why am I driving to work? This is really dumb." Right?
So
anyway, sorry.
My buddy works for UT, the endowment fund. They have $50 billion. He manages $5 billion of it. And so for a year they were out of work, and he had a kid, and he's working from home. They're still making all the money he's making, and then they wanted him to go back to the office. And everybody said,
no, right.
And so, but here's what happened. Here's the conclusion that they came up with. Listen, you have to be in the office from 10 to 3 every day. That's a non-negotiable. But if you want to show up any other time than that, we don't care. So what he does, he goes in at 7 and he leaves at 3 every day to pick up his son, and he loves it. And so I think there's a happy medium for those bigger corporations that need that ecosystem of that information transfer. But the problem with crypto is that, as I've already seen, is it's 24 hours. That's the issue.
I guess, right? Well, and what I'm excited about is that companies. Sorry, Jimmy, we'll get you in here. We're just starting to see that as a competitive angle, right? There's going to be a $50 billion fund that comes out and says, you work wherever the fuck you want to work from, right? And watch what happens, right? And people are going to start, moving in that. Like it's interesting, and not that there isn't a whole lot of value. Like I fly out to Austin every once in a while, and you put M Blue and I in a room, we're going to come out with a ridiculously freaking fantastic game plan in about 8 hours, right? And we work together every day, online. And it's not always that effective, right? Like there really is something to be said for being in the same room. Although Jimmy and I have never tried it. We should probably do that. It might get super weird. Jimmy, what are you thinking, man?
No, I like a few things, but the first and foremost, like I think that the world seems to be dividing into like 2 camps, right? Those that like are able to port into this kind of new ideology and be like, your mate, or be like Corey's missus and say, fuck this, what the fuck have I been doing all this time? And why do I need to still do it if I've already proved that I can be just effective without doing it? Possibly more effective, right? Or the people who are just like, oh man, this sucks. I can't wait to get back to my job and back to my work so I can sit at my desk and, that comfortable place, right? And it's interesting when I see that second camp, because like, I'm just like, it would be like yelling at a wall. So I just don't bother. If you went through that and you haven't figured out the benefits of being able to work remotely, and you haven't figured out that like realistically there is no reason for every single job to be delimited into a 40-hour work week. Like it doesn't make any sense, right? Like it doesn't make sense for doctors to work 40 hours a week. It probably makes more sense for them to work like 100 hours a week, considering like how messed up the world is, right? But doctors do the same thing as what you're talking about, right? Like they work 3 or 4 days, they work their asses off, they've got like a week free, right? Probably not necessarily the healthiest thing always, but like they do that, right? And so like I think that this idea of like potentially having to be like, my mate does this, he works remotely, right? But like make people come on a Friday and attend like a conference meeting, right? And the rest of the time you let them work. And like in a country like Japan or a country like Spain, or like countless other countries that are facing issues, especially with the countryside being like run barren because everyone's in the city working these high-priced corporate jobs and being like severely stressed out, and them not knowing what to do with their economy. That's the perfect solution. You make everyone work a week, like maybe marketing works like the first week of the month in office on site. You pay for them to come and you stay in the city for a hotel. It's probably cheaper than putting them up in residency in the big city full time, right? Moving their family, doing all that stuff. And you're able to like let them relax, let them chill out, be their most effective selves, and rejuvenate like the countryside at the same time. Rejuvenate these small towns, rejuvenate crafts, rejuvenate people working for themselves, passing down traditions and things like that. I get really excited about this because I think that like the potential, we're probably going to squander it, but the potential that even out of all the bad stuff that this pandemic has taught us, if people can connect with that, inner self of like how they work best, how they operate best, what they want to achieve out of their life, For some people, it's great. You work 5 hours a day, you take a few hours off. That's a good pace, right? But for other people, they're like you. It's like, let me work my ass off for 5 days and then walk away from the office and like not talk to anyone I don't want to talk to for a week, right? Like, I think there's a lot to be said in that.
Well, what's interesting, right, is think about it this way. Is my whole premise is lifestyle. Like, I coach when I go to Costa Rica for 10 days. I'm coaching from my phone, from my laptop. So I'm doing what I want, where I want. But think about it this. I'm building my legacy project right now, which is my biggest business, which is going to take me a long time, which is a media company with coaching, consulting, digital marketing, M&A, everything. I have a manager that I've recruited over the last couple of months in each one of those positions. None of those people live where I live, nor have I met any one of those people in person personally. So let me ask you a question. I have the best talent pool of people that are amazing at what they do. If I was looking for that talent pool in my direct area, I wouldn't have a healthy company. So what I'm calling that team is the Avengers company, where we have the best of the best, right? And so that's the options when you work from your laptop. You can pick from the pool of the best instead of picking what is the best. You know what I call it? The hottest girl at the trailer park.
That's funny because I call it being America. I mean, seriously, like what America's bonus is that they recruit the best talent from all over the world. That's why the economy is so good, right? You look at these other countries that aren't doing that. They're shutting their countries down. They're trying to only employ their own. Like, fair enough. The hottest girl at the bar, America, same principle, right? Like, I take the piss out of America a lot, but I do commend them on that. That was a genius move,
Yeah, because ultimately, at the end of the day, what are you looking for here? You're looking for somebody, because here's the bigger issue, right? Especially when you're dealing with younger people, is that the dollar amount they're making is not what they're after, like at this juncture, right? Because I'm asking the people, the managers that I'm bringing on, that are going to get profit share. So one of the assets of the company, one of the missions is we're going to buy a house once a year, because I do Airbnb for many years, in different amazing locations. Let's say the mountains of Colorado, the beaches of Florida, and Costa Rica. And you're going to be able, as a manager, you're going to be able to use that house 2 to 3 times a year. And the other time it's going to be making money. Well, hell yeah. Like that. I love that. And then we're taking a portion of the profits to invest in charities for mentorship and entrepreneurship and financial literacy for kids. They're more jazzed up about that than any money that they're going to possibly make, because they like the mission of the business, right? And that's what I realized when it comes to businesses. It's not always, the dollar doesn't speak the way it used to anymore.
Yeah, mission is critical. Speaking of which, Austin, what are you grateful for in this moment? Could be big, small, doesn't matter.
Man, you know what I'm grateful for? Adam Damn Carswell. That's what I'm grateful for, because, he gets me in situations where I have no idea what I'm doing. But every time I run into somebody, they're great people, and I love exploring new avenues and meeting different people, because I understood. Look, I know little to nothing about NFTs, but I know this, right? That what you're after is your own traffic without censorship. I can get behind that. You want to control your traffic, you control your community, and this is a community-based, right? My views on Facebook went from 130 to 1, okay? So where I got to go somewhere where my community is actually going to show up and support me, and that's what this has taught me in the short amount of time I've been around this community.
That's definitely part of it. You said, Adam, can you spell the rest of it for me so I can get it on the wall correctly?
Carswell. Carswell.
I got 3 things to bust your balls about, and Adam
Jimmy.
Carswell is one of them.
Jimmy, spell that for me again.
No,
I can hear you a little bit better than I can hear Austin.
Carswell. And Adam Carswell is great. I really used to like him a lot, or I used to like you a lot. But then I don't know what happened. He got this crazy idea to change his name, and now he's known as General Moses. Like, what the hell is that, man?
Like,
go back to Adam Carswell. That's so cool. Like General
Moses.
You gotta do. Yeah, you gotta talk to him.
Right.
Schedule him some free therapy.
Look, hey, here's the problem. Here's the problem. He's loose in America right now, and that's just trouble for everybody. Yeah, he is down in Florida right now. He was just in Austin. We don't know what's going on anymore. He's loose. Yeah. Hey, awesome. You know what's funny, Jimmy? My buddy that I have a podcast with, he texted me yesterday. He goes, I literally have no idea what Adam actually does, and we've been speaking to him for a year.
Right, and he lives in Newfoundland, which makes it all the more like baffling, right? Like it's
Dude,
I love it.
And then I keep meeting people from Newfoundland, and I'm like, how many people are in this town? Like
right?
You have the it's crazy. Yeah.
It makes you think that it's like the TARDIS. It's actually bigger on the inside than it looks like on the map.
I think everyone leaves Newfoundland, which is why everybody thinks it must be bigger.
Right, maybe that's true.
Corey, what are you grateful for?
Yeah, I actually said the Uplift team being able to work from home today. I love that. Yep, it's up on the wall. Yeah, so this is a little tradition. We've actually been building this giant building of all the gratitudes for people that come on the show for a little while now, and it's a pretty big building. Jimmy, what are you grateful for?
I'm grateful for pushing through the bad to get to the good, or pushing through the bad to be better, whichever fits easier. So, yeah, I mean, Adam actually speaks really highly of you, but how I first actually heard about you was through our friend Sean Ballant. By the way, henceforth, Sean Ballant shall be known as Sean Ballet because he misspelled his own name on Twitter on the last stream that we did, and I just think it's hilarious that we're gonna call him Mr. Ballet from now on. That one's for you, Bonds. Jump on that.
Gift wrapped.
And anyway, he told us about you. He told us that he actually sat down and had this really cool session with you. He talked to you about being a degen and being in crypto and doing some counseling stuff. And we actually put together a whole almost round table. I think maybe you were busy at that time or something, but we put a whole together round table around it. And we just decided that we had to get you on the show to figure this out. Because that's the second thing is I think you deal with a lot of addicts, right? So this is the second thing I'm gonna bust your balls about, kind of obviously in fun and jest, but you're busting people. Your job basically is to help people, right? Cure them, and I think that's a really noble thing. So I almost feel bad about making this joke, but now you're gonna start your own. Now you're gonna start your own NFT. You're gonna start your own NFT show on the Crypto Writer podcast and get people hooked on NFTs. So what's going on there? I mean, I gotta know.
Here's the deal. You're always going to be addicted to something. Let's just make sure it's positive stuff.
Fair enough.
It's the truth, right? And it's interesting, right? The recovery space on its crutch is very energy sucking, consuming. People are very, but what I'm finding is kind of my sweet spot. I coach a lot of entrepreneurs. My sweet spot is 35 to 50-year-old dudes who have made some money, but maybe their home life is dog shit, or they're addicted to pain pills or something, and they don't tell anybody, right? But because they see me, right, I've lost 70 pounds, and they're like, hey, I see myself in you, and then 2 sessions in, they'll go yeah, so I snort blow off the fucking toilet seat, every fucking Tuesday, and it's okay, I thought we were talking about your business, and so they feel this comfort level, and the personality doesn't go away when it comes to addiction. That's why a lot of people that are in recovery are ultra marathon runners, because they're screw it, I'm just gonna go run my face off, and I found myself doing that with the gym when I first got sober. I was like, oh my God, I'm just gonna, and it's and you kind of have to well, hold on, and so I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm a little nervous about getting the crypto space and everything, because the thing with stock market is that it closes, right? And you can kind of shut it off, and you get up in the morning and Adam's hey, invest in crypto, and then don't look at it for the rest. My favorite meme is the James Franco one where he's got the noose and he's oh, it's your first time in crypto.
Yeah.
We're used to this. So we have a podcast later today where we come up with topics, right? And I think one of the things I want to talk about today on my podcast is longevity when it comes to business and investing, right? I think we're a
Mhm.
reactionary society. But if you
Yeah.
look at real estate, you know what my buddy said is very interesting? He's a big financial planner, big. And he said he was talking to and this is the fight we get into all the time. Him
Mhm.
and real estate guys are always going at each other. And he said, let me tell you something. He said if real estate was like the stock market, and every Tuesday you got to, or like every day, every hour you got to see your house go up or down, he goes, you mother effers would sell in 2.5 seconds. He goes, you couldn't handle it emotionally. And so I ask my friend all the time who manages $5 billion, I said, dude, how do you do that? Like, how do you put 250 on the line, like mil? Like he watched a guy lose 350 million in one day. And he's like, you just become so neutral with analytics and business, and you're just like, boom.
You have to.
Like,
I was talking about, because I was talking to my wife about this the other day. So like, I've been in crypto since like 2016 or whatever. And what I learned, and we've talked about this on this podcast a lot, but 2016, 2017, towards the beginning part of 2018, I was trading like a fiend every day. Like I came from a Forex background, like trading. And a buddy of mine put in exactly the same amount of money within a week and a half of when I started in 2016. And made almost exactly as much as I made, and he did nothing. Right. And seriously, like, I'm decent at trading, not the best by any means, but like I'm pretty good at it. And what I watched through that entire bull market, and I see it sometimes now, is people trading in a bull market where you could throw a dart and make money, and they're losing money every day. It's infuriating, right?
mm-hmm.
So from a psychological, point of view, you want to get to that point where you're dissociated enough so that, like, things move up and down all the time, especially in crypto, right? Like, to your point with that meme,
dude,
like, I feel that meme in my heart.
I finally decided to get into crypto. I mean, finally decided to get into crypto. I put my money in. It went 20K down.
Well, this is the thing. You're earning your keep now, right? Because I mean, honestly, like the rest of the bull market, it's going to go till the end of this year, early February. Like, you got in at a good time, right? Even if you bought the recent top, doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
And the real trick is, if you get in now and you wait 4 years, you're like golden, as long as you can handle an 85% drawdown, because that's coming, dude, at some point.
Dude, my buddy, one of my coaching clients, got in back in 2016. The day he got in, he put in a lot of money. And it went literally negative. He deleted the app, forgot about it for fucking 4 years, and woke up to $1 million too.
Yes, I mean that's the way. Seriously, like that. It's so important. And then you get up to the point where your trader friends. I have a few of those as well, where you have to cultivate a level of disassociation from it. Right. I was, because we've got like a decent little account now, and my wife doesn't even want to talk about it. She can't talk about it at all. So I'm like, oh, we're up this, we're down this, blah, blah, blah. And I just don't, like, I have explained to her many times that this weird calm about it, but it's practice. Right. And, maybe just like, how many times can you get smashed in the face with a brick before you're like, meh? But then, I think my account doubles and triples in a year.
Well, I think that you've also cultivated the reason why you invested. I think that's the most important thing. I think
not wrong.
So here's the bigger issue that I see with real estate investors, especially young guys. They're investing to hit the lottery. Stop that shit. So,
yeah, amen.
What are you doing? Like, dude, you're invested because you're invested. That's it. Like, and at the end of the day, the reason that I want to invest is for personal freedom. Okay, if that's the case, then when do I stop? I don't. I always invest. What's interesting about rich white people is they keep their shit to themselves and they don't tell anybody. Like, and so there's this thing where you have a whole life insurance policy where you can invest and loan money to yourself at like 3%, and it's tax free, right? When you put profits in. Not a lot of people know about this, but guess what it takes? Longevity. You got to keep putting money in, but people don't want to do that. They want to wholesale, they want to flip, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, I mean, after they get into crypto and NFTs, I wonder if their mindset changes, because like a lot of us here, we just keep putting money in. and
then you keep flipping it too. The Our Planet thing was really interesting, right? So Our Planet, I don't know if you know about this, is a game where it was kind of the first game where they started staking other projects' NFTs, and you got their Aether token, and you could do some nonsense with the Aether token. It's whatever, it's fun. And we're already starting to see a few more of those things. We're going to see 20 by the end of the year. Like it's a good idea, and people are going to start doing it all over the place. But it was interesting watching what happened when, it got to the point where you were making out at a certain point, like, for $1 million Aether, you're getting 1,000 wax, which is like a really significant amount of money for a lot of people that had been grinding and building that up for 5 months, right? And a lot of people like, come on board and like, oh my God, I'm making money, like instantaneously. Everybody that made serious money in our planet was in 4 months earlier, which is a good lesson to learn. But watching the different ways that people reacted to that, like some were just hodling, they were going to hodl forever. That's a mistake, right? Because then Aether is way down now, right? So like it literally wasn't anything. But I was watching all the people that are patterned this way, taking consistent, constant profits and dumping them into other projects. And really, I just look at that as risk allocation, right? Like it's one thing to you never want to have all your eggs in one basket or whatever. And for a while, it was by far my best performing asset. So you just take a bunch and you're starting to get it at other places. But I know people that were literally spending it all on drugs. And it's how you do anything is how you do everything, right? And it's like you can see it from a mile away.
We were talking about it at the beginning, and it wasn't until I worked private equity that you have to this is why I'm so passionate about teaching middle school and high school kids like fantasy influence. You have to learn how money works. Like seriously, we got money from Blackstone, and when you start playing that game, you like start peeling back the unders. But it's not like I have a big client in New York, and I have a big client over here, and we talk about this all the time. If you don't understand, we were talking about this beginning of the call. If you don't understand that everything is being decentralized, meaning real estate, meaning everything, like we were talking about my friend living in Colombia and working, and like you don't have to be in San Francisco anymore. You don't have to be in New York, and they're taking their risk money, and they're taking the profits, and they're moving it to the middle America because they know that's not going away, right? They're taking the risk allocation and they're saying, like and they're moving it over here, right? One of my favorite books is Nomad Capitalist. And this guy, all he does is help entrepreneurs who have 7 and 8 figures move their money overseas so they don't have to pay taxes. And he's like, my business is online. So technically my coach lives in Costa Rica. I could put my address there and I wouldn't pay taxes. That could happen, right? And so it's all a mindset. If you have a growth mindset and you decide to peel back the onion, like, Here's what I know. I really wish somebody would have punched me in the face, took $500 out of my pocket, and made me put me in 2015. Right? I really wish that.
Dude, I almost put 10. I called the bottom in 2015 at 200, and literally almost put $10,000 in right then. And instead, I just started to decide to train how to trade forex, like the dumbest thing in retrospect that I have ever done.
Here's what did happen to me. Is that people that I respected, smart people, were going, dude, I know you may not understand it, but figure it out, right? And I got gifted my first $100 of crypto, and then I started digging into it, and I was like, oh, okay, boom, right? And then you play the game for the next 6 months. Well, I got in too late. And then it drops down to like 29, and you're like, no, we're good, and so. The question is does it go to $1 million, right? Or is there something else, right? It's the same conversation we have all the time. Everybody's so hot on Airbnb, right? Dude, Airbnb treats the people like shit. They treat their host like shit. He's a horrible person. The CEO is a terrible human being. Like, they just are the thing that showed people the way. What people don't understand is people were renting beach houses out on Florida 80 years ago. That's never going away. So the actual thing that you have to do moving forward in any business, any type of business, any platform, is own your media. That's what you have to do. Own your platform, own your media. Do not build your real estate on somebody else's platform. That's where you get mistaken.
Indeed.
Are we finished? Is that it?
It's just like mic drop. Bye.
I mean, that's who's
the next Airbnb then, Austin? Because like presumably if there's a lot of pressure and potential there, then there's got to be 10 companies in the wings that are planning on being the next platform.
Here's what they don't tell you, and maybe Jimmy can talk on this because he's overseas. So what people understand is Hotels.com and Booking.com make $12 billion a year. Airbnb only makes $3 billion. Like Airbnb is Booking.com is 3 times the size of Airbnb.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah, I think the thing that gets like Booking.com though is like a lot of, I think, because they're diversified across hotels as well, right? So like I don't think Airbnb really does that. So that brings them that kind of corporate angle. I don't know about users though. I use Booking.com just because I think it's a really easy experience, but I don't know if it's cheaper or how they deal with the complaints and stuff on Airbnb. So I'm not really sure if it's better on that sense. I mean, but according to what you're saying, it's not. So I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, like hotels.com, like I can't buy a piece of property and get it on hotels.com, so I kind of don't care about them. They're different things, right? So for me, looking at, because I know Uber is kind of going through the same thing, right? Like they have gotten up to this certain point, people are now depending on it, and then because it's a corporation, it's going to start driving price down and driving drivers to making as small amount of money as humanly possible, and that's going to cause a lot of friction, right? And obviously the Lyft is trying to come around the corner and gather some of that, but it's creates a lot of challenges in the marketplace. So anytime I hear, okay, Airbnb is actually being really shitty to their hosts and really shitty to their guests, I mean, that's a $3 billion opportunity. And something that's interesting to me, because like I literally am writing this down because I want to talk to you about this later. Like, we want to get an Airbnb at some point and do this. Like, it makes sense as like a kind of a next step for us in our journey, because like we're doing pretty well in crypto. We got to diversify out or whatever. Maybe the answer is not Airbnb.
No, it is. And I teach people all the time, happy to help you and your wife. That's not a problem. I have everything. I've done this for years all across the country. But what's interesting, right, is you have to understand the psychology of the human being, right? Everybody looks at the fake facade of a building. They don't study the guts. So everything that happened with COVID was coming anyway, but because of COVID, everything happened 10 years sooner, right? Dude, think about the real estate space and the construction space. They're signing loan documents over Zoom. Who didn't know that could be done 5 years ago?
It was so obvious. I've been screaming about this for so long.
Right? So now I have 3 businesses with people I've never met in person. We have bank accounts together. So now people are changing, right? They can move with their jobs. So what I'm seeing is I want to create entrepreneurship incubator hotels. So you come stay for a month, you get coaching, you get brainstorm sessions, you get a chef, you get a trainer, and you and your startup come and work at the hotel for a month around other startups. How fucking cool is that? Right?
And like people are like, office buildings are going to start emptying out. Like, that's a really good idea. I mean, obviously, that's a good idea, but like, I mean, Uplift's going pretty well, but maybe I should.
Not only that, think about it. I just came up with this. You can get sponsored by software companies that those companies use to pay for the food, pay for the thing. And so you can have this in Costa Rica, Tulum, Europe. But what's interesting, right? There's a guy I know on the West Coast up in Washington. They bought a 10 unit during COVID on the beach in this little town nobody knows about for $750,000. Great price. Washington, great price. Each one of those units is doing $7,000 a month right now on Airbnb.
I mean, if you like that sort of thing. Damn, Daniel. I mean, 100% APY DeFi is pretty good, but so is that.
So at the end of the day, the question is how do we structure it where it doesn't take over our life? That's the most important thing with Airbnb, because you are running a hotel, right?
Yeah.
But hear me out. Right now, I'm sitting in a room. So we close next week. My mentor closes next week on a 30-room hotel on the lake in Tahoe. That's the one I'm going to be helping him with. So this that I'm in right now is 15 rooms. He bought it for $1 million. It was run by a church camp. He bought it at 10% occupancy. They needed a full remodel. I want to say that it's at 80% occupancy. So we were good at 30% occupancy on the numbers, right? So it's 90% of the time it's 2 DAs. All the locks have keypads, and there's no front desk.
I mean, it's where everything was headed anyway, right? So it's just like, and how many like Airbnbs sort of started doing this? Because like, why would you want to meet them with a key when you can just say like, just get the key
more importantly, here's what I used to do. I used to live behind my Airbnb, my 2 right in front of me, And I used to see 8 women walking in with dark black hair, and I would throw up because I know how much I was going to have to clean, right? So when you remove yourself, but there's this guy in London, true story. He has 150 Airbnbs in Dubai and London, right? Because I know like everybody around the country that does this. And he said after 30 units, he made a dashboard like of analytical numbers with spreadsheets and stuff like that. And he refused to walk in any more properties because emotionally he couldn't deal with it. And he wanted to be disassociated from the business and really
just treat it like a cost, not like a, why did they leave a mess?
He'll look at the dashboard and he'll message his team and go, "You're off there." Like, and then boom, he's done. And so he hasn't walked in the unit in like years. And I love that because now you're running a business instead of running an emotional business. And I think that's so important.
Yeah, so a couple friends of mine, they run, Airbnbs here in Japan. And it's funny because like the service industry in Japan is top notch. So they're actually able to hire, people to come in and change the linens and clean. And like everyone's making money, right? Like the people who are doing the linen changing and cleaning, like they're doing this for hotels, they're doing this, for private, people as well. So like that's part of their business. And then like they don't really have to touch it, right? And it's just a matter of basically going over, checking it like down the street, maybe changing the padlock key, sign in or something like that for the next guest. But it's really interesting. I just want to go back a minute because like I think this is really fascinating, but I was laughing before because like it's funny to me. I don't know why, but I just think this is a weird random point that like people don't realize. In Japan, Airbnb is okay, but in Japan, Ubers are only taxis who have signed up for the Uber service because like there's some weird bylaw that like only they can do it, which is just like, doesn't that kind of destroy the point of Uber? Like, aren't they already doing that as a taxi service? Like, it's just funny to me. So I just think it's going to be interesting to see like how these legacy businesses like hold on to when the world decentralizes, like you say, right? Because it's going to happen, like just like it's happening in crypto with banks.
Yeah.
It's gonna
Google SEC and crypto right now. You can watch it, and it's feckless and sad.
So Corey, do you want me to share this idea, or do you don't want anybody to steal it? Because I have one that I think would be right up
Here's I want you to share it because my firm position, and I think I stole this from Gary Vee, is ideas are dog shit. Execution is everything. Because I hear people with ideas all the fucking time, and none of them are going to do anything about it, right?
Okay. So this is my
and yes, that's a challenge to anyone listening to this. Fucking go do it. Go ahead.
This is my big idea, right? Because I think if you look at the way that I study the way people buy stuff these days, like why they're buying it, what they're doing, right?
Right.
Like people get tired of a couch within 5 months, right? Like what's the fucking point, right? Like, and now there's this talk with entrepreneurs, like, is it better to just travel around Airbnbs that are fully furnished with good internet instead of having things that we don't fucking use, right? And so I was studying. I went to my financial advisor's house in Lake Tahoe. He has a cabin up here. There's 3 of them. They own with 5 other people. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. You don't have to be, there's a company that runs it when you're here. And I said, okay, I see. So what's the point of one entrepreneur, let's say Corey, goes and buys $1 million property in the Smoky Mountains, let's just say the best market for Airbnb in the country, right? Why would you do that? Why wouldn't you instead go get 5 people, buy the house together, each person gets to use it for 2 months, 2 times out of the year, and then it's made money the rest of the time? But wait, why couldn't you go do that with 30 entrepreneurs, and then you get to travel around, pair it up with a rented jet service, chefs, the whole 9, and then sell it as a subscription model? So I pay $100K a year to get 5 opportunities to stay at the best properties in the world, instead of having all my money in $1 million, where if the market goes to shit, I'm good.
They actually have a system like they actually have a system like that here in Japan, which is really interesting. It's this like hotel chain where you basically can stay for like peanuts if you have the membership, and you can travel all over the country. And there's an upper limit on it. I think it's like timeshares. It's a very similar model. It's not as well defined as what you're talking about, but like I think it's brilliant. And like you said, for people who are going to be working remotely, for people who are going to be like embracing this online type of education, like my biggest thing right now is I have a family, so it's really difficult to move around with the family. As a single person, it's pretty easy to, you know, find a room, find a hotel, go to a business hotel, do something like that, right? But like, you know, I want to go hang out with Corey for a couple months in Miami. Like, I'm still gonna need my own space, my own room to do my show, because we're gonna hang out after. Like, we can't do the show in the same room. We're never gonna get anything done, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's just, but like you know, you know, it's great. Like Miami seems like a cool place to be, like, right? Like there's lots going on in Florida. Take the family there, they can hang out, they can do their own thing, right? But like, try finding a place that's like reasonable in Florida, because it's so vacationy, right? Like for 3 months to stay there, you're going to pay through the roof. So like, if you have that subscription service, that's huge, right? Because then all of the great cities in the world, in a sense, are connected. People can say, okay, like this month I'm going to go here, this month I'm going to go here. Look at like your entrepreneurs that are wanting to go to, like, you know, Paris, London, New York, California. They can do that for 6 months and not have to worry about a place to live. And I think, like, yeah, it's probably a brilliant idea.
And you can partner with boutique hotels. So if it's you and your wife, or you by yourself, then you could piggyback off of their availability as well too. And so you kind of team up, right? But the goal would be to get entrepreneurs in at first, to spend the money at first. And then once you've proven out the model, then you go raise a fund against the properties, buy out all the properties, pay off the entrepreneurs on a 20x return, and then give them free subscription to use the houses. And the whole time the properties are making money and cash flowing, and the write-offs all the way down.
Well, and I can see a world where, like, you know, this is all on the blockchain as well, whereby like your token is your key, right? Right? Like this token is your key, right? Like the token the token is the fractionalization of the profit margin, right? Like just holding these tokens that's where the profits get distributed.
One for ownership, governance, and one for use. But either way, you could totally make it work.
Well,
not that I was
right.
thinking about it already.
I have a client who I'm consulting now, who's thinking about running tokens as his mastermind, for his mastermind. Like, I'm only going to let 20 people in this formation. He sells land, and you can either hold on to it, and as this group gets better and better, you can either sell it off or you can keep it, and then it'll keep gaining value. And so when he told me that, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it makes so much more sense than like buying real estate and flipping it, right? Like, what if you can buy a part of real estate and then decide whether you want to get rid of it? Like, that whole idea, I think, is so underdeveloped. And you know, blockchain and tokenomics done the right way, I think that's what we'll ultimately see. I don't know how long.
Well, and when you can have right, when you can have that fractionalized ownership, like the like gaming it out so that it's a lot bigger, like that's you know, definitely a thing that I honestly will happen, whether it's, you know, us or somebody else. I really like the idea though of, you know, getting 5 people together to you know, own a piece of property or 10. And
so the way,
you know, you have with those 5 things, you have like the time where you can actually go see it, and the rest of the time it's actually an income producing asset that you're running you know, as a team. Like that, you know, it's like, you know, buying an Our Planet mining rig, but kind of times 1,000, right? But it's still where people should be able to get in at lower levels, you know, without needing $250,000 in the bank or whatever.
Well, I think that's the bigger issue, right? Is if you look at technology on a whole, it's creating the barrier to entry is lower. Well, shouldn't we make like I might be a weirdo, and people think I'm crazy when I say this, but my big dream, like I grew up in a big house. I don't really care about that. Doesn't do anything for me. But I want to have 5 medium houses, and in each house, I want to have the same toys, the same clothes, the same computers. So when I'm at that place, it feels like home. And so I'm not like traveling, right? And so I only travel with a backpack. So like maybe, because here's what I won't do anymore. This is my new rule. I swear to God, I lived in Texas for too long. I will not be in any climate when the weather's the worst. I won't do it. Not going to happen. I'm not going to be in Texas in August anymore. Maybe I go to Utah. Maybe I go to the spring and this place. And I think you're going to start seeing that more. So if I could own a house, right? And so I think the way to do this at scale is, and I've seen this in Costa Rica, is to build a house that has 5 master bedrooms. So everybody has their own kind of area. You still get to use the environment. You still get to use the thing. Because what they do, this is crazy, bro. At his cabin here, is when his family leaves, they pull out the furniture and put in the Airbnb furniture. When the other family comes, they pull in their furniture. So when they're in that home, it's their couch, their bed, their sheets, and they're comfortable.
That's crazy.
So you've got 6 rooms. Oh no, you put the furniture in your master bedroom, and then you just pull it out. Yeah, I like that, because when I was traveling in Okinawa, like, the hotels are good because they come in and clean them. And there were a couple houses that we stayed at that were good, but there was one house that had 5 bedrooms, and there wasn't one bed that you could sleep in. Like, it was nuts. Like, it was like there was like big dips in the middle of it, like caverns, and like the springs were shot. And like that was when I disappeared for a week, I was going to do internet, because I thought, oh well, it's either like 1 bedroom or 5 bedrooms, because that's all available. If I get 5 bedrooms, I can do the show with Corey. I can go into a separate bedroom. That's not going to happen because they didn't have internet either. Anyway, that's my problem, not the show's problem. I missed you, Corey. That's all. Really.
What's interesting, right, is so where I'm talking to you right now, guys, because my girlfriend's still asleep. It's very early in California. I just got this week, is my iPad, right? And so everybody says, like, why wouldn't you just get a laptop? This has, self-service, and I can go anywhere. I travel a bunch. And then I have my mini, Apple computer that I can pair with a portable screen, right? And so now I've got the opportunity with the web, with the light, I'm good. And so now, where's self-service? Well, almost anywhere. So I'm good. So I literally can do everything from this and this. And so when Gary Vee taught me a lot, is that I realized that I'm nothing more than a TV host. This is a TV show. This is your environment. People are coming to see you. What are you going to bring to them? And I really think that this new thing is community, right? Is that what y'all see in the NFT crypto space? Is the sense of community support?
You can boil every single project down, and make all the details and all the fundamentals around it. Erase all of those. Then I can point to every single success based on their community, and every failure based on the lack of it.
Okay, so how do you, as a TV host or community leader, how do you run a community without killing yourself? Like, how do you want to be?
Let me know.
People in Australia, people are being. Well, no. Like Adam told me the other day, he did a 9-hour live. I'm like, bro, what?
Yeah, Adam's insane. Like, I think his longest is like 13 hours. Like,
yeah, like that's like Jimmy and I used to do literally every day. And then like we decided to get way smarter and just do 5 times a day. But like Jimmy's now doing like, I think, are you doing a show every night now, or like every other night? It's ridiculous.
I mean, on average, like Monday to Friday, I do a couple of shows a day. Yeah.
All right. Well, and that's like a couple hours, and that's kind of like what you're doing other than writing or whatever, right? So I suppose it kind of makes sense. But I think like consistency, in my opinion, is far more powerful than blitzing for really, really long periods of time, right? And for me, it's we didn't make the show about the Uplift, although we talk about it every day and we do the gratitudes every day or whatever, right? We made the show about everybody else. So we want to have the Austins of the world on, and the Sean's from Crypto Writer, and the Adrian from Wombat Wallet, and we're basically like just connecting with every kind of meaningful project in the space and promoting the shit out of them, because it's why everyone knows who we are, right? So like it just allowed us to kind of do that.
That's so what people don't understand. If you look at my coaching, if you look at everybody, when you transform or you fix them or everything, this whole thing. Everything that you're doing in life is boiled down to 2 things: self-awareness and consistency. Nobody's perfect. If you're self-aware that you're growing every day and you're taking extreme ownership and you're consistent with your actions. Look, my life fell apart last year. I got laid off 7 days into COVID and got divorced 6 days later from a 13-year marriage.
Sorry,
and
man.
I started a podcast that same week. I just happened to have a schedule. So there you go. Call Construct Your Life. So, as my life's falling apart, I should have called it Your Life is Blowing Up to Bits, but that's a whole nother story.
Reconstruct your life.
But what's interesting, right, is I poured myself into that, and I was doing 9 interviews a day, right? I think I did 260 episodes in 11 months, right? And what I realized is that there's no chance that everybody's going to be able to listen to every minute of those podcasts, but you want to know the one comment they said? You're extremely consistent with your podcast. You're extremely consistent with how you work out. You're extremely consistent with how you show up for people. The problem is that everybody's walking around and they're not in love with what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why they're inconsistent.
Yeah,
really
I mean, what? And even looking at STC was mentioning, and a lot of people who went through this in COVID, and small town cowboy, decided to just do something other than his day job, this year or whatever. He's like one of the best builders in the Uplift now, and he's just he's just in it and consistent as hell, right? So I know you touched on it a little bit, but what are the biggest things, the differences that you see in what leads people to be consistent versus what leads people to not be consistent?
Well, I think that they ultimately don't know where they're going. I mean, at the end of the day, 90% of the time, I when I get a client, they've lost their sense of direction. And the direction is that because they're doing it for somebody else, right? Like, at the end of the day, your expectations of what you want, and like, here's the difference. The reality of what you need to be happy, or whatever that means, or successful, whatever you make that, is really monotone. Like, it's low. Like, I have a friend, right, who is an ex-client who lives in Ohio, has 3 kids, and they live off of $3,000 a month with their own house, right? And now he's making, $180,000 in wholesale fees in 5 months. He's good for 2 years because they structure their life that way. So my biggest issue is this, when it comes to consistency, is that this is my new thing I'm on right now, is that you're grumpy as fuck and you're bitching and moaning about how busy you are and not realizing that everything is your choice.
Yeah.
Everything's your choice.
Yep.
Aubrey Marcus said this: you could not eat and you would die, but it's still your choice.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
go ahead, Chuck.
No, I think I think that's really valuable what you're saying, but I also think that we're trapped in this mindset to believe that it's not our choice, that somebody else is causing us this stress or this problem. And I think that's the hurdle that most people, have trouble, facing. And a lot of that gets drilled into us from when we're young, from our parents, from our society, from our education system. Like, it's crazy to me that, again, I was ranting about the 40-year work week, but it's crazy to me that, like, when you get out of university, people expect you to sign up for a 40-year job, right? I guess you get a pension, right? But now, like, in a lot of countries, pensions are being taken away, like,
insane.
Yeah. Right. And like companies are skirting it by like hiring you part-time, right? Like, and so like there really is no reason not to do that. And like some of the happiest people I see in Osaka, right? Like, Japan, I think a lot of people know, has like one of the highest suicide rates in the world, right? Like, Japan is a country that, a woman, she died from overwork. I think she worked 108 hours in a week or something like that, which is ridiculous, right? She died from overwork, and the government and the company, basically, the government came down on the company, and the company said, well, I mean, we don't have, we don't know what to do. And the government said, okay, well, this is what we're going to do. We're going to make a new rule. We're going to make a new rule so that people can't be worked too much, because we know Japanese people, they like to work for the company, and we're going to make a new rule. So the new rule is you can't work for more than 90 hours a week. A week later, like half the people in the country, their hours increased by like 10 to 15 hours because they were only working 75 hours a week. And the companies were like, oh, well, actually, now you can stay longer because there's a rule. And it's like, you just fucked 100 people or 1,000 people because of one lady in one company. Now, I feel bad for that lady in that company, but that's been drilled into us, right? And like, how long, especially in American society, has it been drilled into us? You have to take out a loan, you have to get a house, you got to settle down, you got to get a wife, you got to get that white picket fence with 2 dogs and possibly a cat, until one of the, cats scratch one of the dogs, and then the dog eats the cat, and everything goes to shit because you got 5 kids and you're working in this fucking job that you can't hate and you can't get out of there. And the only thing that's going to save you is to create a show called, F is for Family, that everyone's going to reference because it's freaking hilarious, right? Like, this is the American dream. This is what it's become, right? And like, I love it. Like, I love the fact that we went from this, like, amazing, brilliant society that was like at the epitome of what the American dream could be, to being trapped in for a lot of people, to being trapped in this never ending cycle of wanted needs and debts. And I think you're really onto something. I think if people could realize like that they could take back that mobility and that freedom and be better for it, right? They don't need all of this shit. What they need is experiences that tie to that shit, right? I mean, if you're a fan of collecting sneakers, all the power to you, right? But like you need to decide that on your own, right? So I really like what you're saying, man. I'm a big fan. I have zero direction other than the fact that like I don't want to be directed by somebody else. That's my safe zone.
then you're good to go.
Nobody puts Jimmy in a corner, baby.
Well, no. I could tell that very, very carefully. But what's interesting, right, is I said this on a podcast with a mom. I was trying to help her out with her kid, right? And this is crazy to think because I'm very freedom oriented, like Jimmy. Don't tell me what to do. Indiscipline creates freedom. I know it's a very oxymoron, meaning when I lost my house, my dog, gave my house away to my ex-wife, and I had 7 fucking boxes. You know what I did? I got in the car and I was driving to Austin and I drove to California. And for a month and a half, I just drove around visiting my friends, working from my laptop. And I thought to myself, holy fuck, this is it right here. I don't need the home. And here's the crazy thing. I am a real estate investor, yet I've lived in an apartment in the last 3 years. Why do I do that? Because
seriously, rewind this and re-listen to that. I mean, like Tim Ferriss talked about this for a long time, and like I used to live in a bus in the Arctic. Like this is my wheelhouse, right? Always live small. Living small let me be a musician for a really, really long time. It really does. Like that, you want freedom? Sell everything you own, right? Because ownership ties you to that stuff.
Corey, I forgot to tell you. So we had wildfires here in Tahoe, right? And I have a storage unit and I have stuff in this hotel room till we move next week, right, to the new hotel. The fire was a mile away from the hotel, like literally everybody evacuated. I'm in New York for working, and here I am being extremely upset about my stuff possibly burning. These are things, golf clubs, other things, right? And then my girlfriend said this. She said, well, you're losing all your attachment to your things, so your life will be better for it. And I was like, there's so much peace in the fact that it's just fucking things. You just get more of them.
It's shockingly true. Like we're doing pretty well this year. We still live in a tiny apartment, and like we're probably not going to change that, right? Like like we're upgrading lifestyle at a snail's pace, and I want to keep doing that. And we're talking about buying a place at some point or whatever. We're not talking about buying a place for us. We're talking about buying a place to diversify our freaking portfolio. That's it.
In essence, you are buying a place for yourself because you're buying the experience of being able to enjoy cash flow in your asset, which is part of the appeal.
Right, exactly. Like I love anything that prints money. I love it. And right now, all the things that I have that print money are in crypto, right? And so I want to have stuff that prints money that's not in crypto.
When here's the great thing is what's even better is everything. And when I mean everything, toilet paper, electric bill, sponges is a write-off because you're running a business within a house.
Yeah, that's the way. All right, listen, I'm 1 minute late for a meeting. Austin, would you come back like on the regular?
Of course.
And really like
forever, not like 9 hours, but yeah,
not 9 hours, but yeah, but with consistency. Yeah, we talked about this being degen therapy, which I think we actually did pretty good on the whole degen therapy thing. But I think everybody in our community would benefit a great deal from having you around. But by all means, feel free to stick around with Jimmy. Make sure everybody knows how to find you.
I got a meeting too. Yeah, but
all right, yeah, Austin, you and I are gonna chat for sure about all the rest of that stuff. We should do it live if you want to do that. Like whatever I can do to get the word out about what you're doing,
dude. I would love to do that because one of my things, if you attend one of my Airbnb talks, after about 20 minutes, people think that I'm telling them not to do it, but I'm merely just saying I'm going to save you about 7 years and about headaches. I've cried in cars because we were launching 7 properties in 5 states in 3 days, and I've cried, and so I've already done all the hard work, and I can just make it very seamless for people.
Well, honestly, people I think want too much of an easy ride sometimes. So I think like shocking the reality into them in the beginning, like this is not simple, or literally every Tom, Dick, and Harry would do it easily.
It's not just putting beds down, everybody. Just so
what?
You got like, like it's just putting beds down. No, sorry.
No.
But
no.
yeah, shoot me a message, guys. I can't
Right,
thank you enough so much. I appreciate it.
All right, ciao. Jimmy, you want to do the chop? Nailed it. Boink. All right, I gotta roll.